Hello, I'm Dom, and I'm documenting the process as I build and monetize an app. And in this part, I want to talk about audience building and storytelling. Now, I'm building an app for people who are building apps, and that doesn't really make much sense, so I need to explain myself. Last year, I went out and talked to around about 1,000 software developers and engineers. And I kept hearing the same story over and over again, which was as a software developer or software engineer, I need to build and monetize an app so that I can start my journey on becoming a founder. However, I find it difficult to make good product decisions and put together a decent go to market strategy because I haven't gone out to talk to enough people. And to a certain extent, that's because I kind of don't want to. And therefore, I find myself with decision paralysis or building something and I can't get it into people's hands, not only to pay me, but just to give me feedback. And as I kept hearing this story over and over again, I said, right, this is the problem that I'm going to solve. And I'm going to document it. And the main reason for that is I want to help folks like yourself to be part of a cultural ecosystem for independent technology. And I do that by going on my social media and talking about concepts in product and go to market, but that can only get me so far. So I've sort of decided to do this as a way of teaching by example. So this is all about how do I find people, right? And this is kind of a tough question, right? But it kind of links sort of a couple of pieces together. What I'm not going to do, which a lot of people end up they think is the playbook, but it doesn't work for them, is to look at the thing that they want to build and they come up with ideas and then they adopt some tactics like social media or automating marketing campaigns and they don't get very far at all. So instead, I'm going to employ a proven process, something that I've done working over a decade in tech, which is to go people and then problem and then product. And that's the order I go in. This helps you to work out some of the more important bits before you commit and do the heavy lifting or actually building the product. And in my last video, I talked about testing the market, but that in itself can have some very interesting effects. That is when I go out and I start telling the story of what I'm doing and telling the story of the people I'm building a product for, you start to see reactions to it. And I've done not a lot, okay? I've got a handful of social media posts, some YouTube videos, some TikToks. I've also been doing, for my last part, I also did some webinars as a way of testing the market as well. And even though I don't have a product, I don't even have anything in development, I don't even have an idea, I haven't even got the spark of an idea. There are people coming forward to say, hey, I'm happy to test your product for you. I have nothing, and yet they do this. How did I get these people to come towards me? Well, this is the power of storytelling. And this really links people and problem. And this is why I spend so much time in this space, because this is what really starts to garner interest. So you can do this too. If you're looking to build and monetize an app, then there are really three principles I really want you to understand of how I got to this place of I have nothing and yet people are asking for the thing that I'm going to build. Number one, you only trust somebody to solve your problems when you can see that they empathize with the fact that you experienced the problem in the first place, right? If you go to somebody and they say, hey, I want to sell you a thing, you're not really that interested. But if they're talking about what they're trying to achieve and that they experience the problem, right? And we very often see this is for X by X, right? This is for marketers by marketers, right? The reason we gravitate to that stuff is because we understand that this person empathizes with the problem that I'm experiencing. Number two, people will always congregate around the same problem. And this is just human nature, right? You go to a village and the well is dried up. Everybody will start to come together in order to fix that problem, right? I always tell a story of I was at this family gathering of a partner of mine and the cooker stopped working, and like everybody simultaneously was like, have you got power? Is there power to it though? That's weird. Is it maybe it's the element? And now everyone became obsessed about it. People always congregate around the same problem. And lastly, when people believe in your mission, they will take any solution that you give them, and they will forgive the rough edges and the sharp corners and anything that's just about cobbled together in order to say, do you know what, I'm going to do this. You can see this most of all in the entire Linux community. There are so many things that still need to be fixed, and so many things that still need to be in a place that, it's not quite ready, it's not quite there, but people accept it and they forgive it because they believe in the mission. And this then leads you with these 3 principles to understand, well, what problem am I trying to solve here, and how can I then articulate that problem back to people as part of my storytelling? Now, the anatomy of a problem effectively is always the same. There are people in state A and they're trying to get to state B, but the state change comes at a cost, and the person experiencing the problem effectively can't pay the cost to change state. Now, that cost can be anything, right? It could be time, it could be money, it could be confidence, information, data, knowledge. It could be a lot of things. So when you're trying to empathize with somebody and trying to understand their problem, what you're trying to figure out is how is it they are poor that they can't change state. But it means you have to understand what state A is and state B is and what that state change looks like and how are they poor. But starting with how they're poor is a really good jumping off point. And every problem statement ends up looking something like this. As a persona in a particular state, I want to acquire something or obtain something or change something so that I can have some impact to my life, right? My life has to have impact for me to care. However, I can't because of some barrier that exists, and this barrier exists because of some root cause, and therefore I feel some negative reaction. If you go back to the beginning of this video, I give you the problem statement of what I'm trying to solve. Now, all I did in all of those TikToks and YouTube videos and in my webinars was to reiterate that problem statement back to people, right? That's all I did, just reiterate the problem back to people in a way that they got it and were like, oh, yes, absolutely, this is the thing. So even though I don't have a product, they're ready to come along and be part of the journey because they could see that I was empathizing with them and they were like, right, I believe in this mission. This is what I want to move forward with. So if you want to get good at doing this and you're building and monetizing an app, you want to practice this whole thing of people, problem, product. Now, first of all, you can practice writing problem statements. One way you can do this is that whenever you're annoyed, follow this framework, right? Whenever you get annoyed at something, I'm trying to post something at the post office, or I'm trying to go do a weekly shop. Okay, what's your state A? What's your state B? What is the cost of state change? And how am I poor that it's either very difficult and there's some discomfort, or I can't do it at all? A very good time to write a problem statement is when you see something and your reaction is, oh my goodness, you only had one job, right? When you have that feeling, write down the problem statement and be very clear. You saw how much detail I put into it, but I've given you the basic structure, but it can get a lot bigger than that. And go and talk. Another thing you can do is go and talk to friends and relatives and colleagues and try and figure out their problem. Try and figure out the problem statements from what they're moaning about, right? So you might be with a colleague and they say, oh, it's really annoying because, you know, Jeff from accounting says this, this, and this. And you go, okay, cool. And start asking questions around it to be like, well, what are you trying to achieve again? Like, where are you trying to get to? Right. And where are you right now? You know, and then start to work out, well, how are they poor? You know, what is the effect of Jeff in accounting making them, you know, is it an information problem? Is it a documentation problem? Start to dig into it. And then once you can do that quite quickly and do it on the fly, start to articulate the problem back to the person. So almost say it back to them, and you'll be amazed at the reaction that people give you when you do this, right? This comes back to when you sit there and you say a problem and you fire out solutions towards them, they almost get annoyed, right? Because they're like, you're not empathizing with me. That's why they're getting annoyed. But when you articulate the problem back, suddenly they're like, yeah, that's exactly it. And what you can also do is, before you, again, I've managed to get some attention without building anything. What you can do is just pick one problem, one thing, something that you find interesting, something that you experience maybe, right? And just share it like crazy, right? Just put it on social media, send it via email, text it to your friends or whoever. Just share the problem. Just say, this thing really annoys me. I'm trying to do X. However, this barrier exists, and it exists because of these reasons, and therefore this is how I feel. Like, this really bugs me, right? And just share it, and you will find very interesting conversations come from it. And you will find people who start to say, hey, maybe we need to solve this problem together, right? People congregate around the same problems. If you would like to join more on this journey, then please like and subscribe, and drop me a comment if you need any help on anything else. I am going to continue. I'm going to go out, talk to more people. I'm going to do more events. I'm going to do more webinars and start to get more of that marketing testing coming in. But I am going to have a few weeks where basically I get people into the same space so that I can take the product to them. And that is the next step. And that's going to be the next video. Okay. Hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you later on. Bye.